So, once again, I'm here because of some outlandish things that I have heard on social media. I have recently gotten into some debates with women about gun control laws in regards to school shootings because they believe school shootings are an enormous problem, which they are. I mean, don't get me wrong. I will utterly and to every which degree agree with that. School shootings are a problem. Mass shootings are a problem. This should not be happening in our society. Unfortunately, there are some vile people in the world. However, these women, when I got in discussions with them, completely disregarded the notion of knowing whether their friends or their relatives or their neighbors carried guns, and they allowed their children to run over and play at their houses. So this to me is a little moronic. So I don't let my children go anywhere without knowing anything about if people are carrying around there, especially to a friend's house. I want to know that if that person has firearms in the house, that they're properly secured, especially with my children there. My children have been taught firearm safety. They all know it. However, for my younger children who don't shoot yet, firearm safety and teaching them, basically don't touch the gun only takes you so far. There's been numerous studies, clinical studies, to show that children who are told do not touch a firearm don't necessarily abide by that saying, and they're inquisitive. Children are inquisitive, and they will go play with a gun. So I have, on a couple occasions, tried to reinforce my children, or my younger children, through leaving my firearm completely unloaded, laying around my house, to see what they'll do, just to, it's a little more reassurance for me. And they have proven to what is right. They scream for an adult, which is what I tell them to do. So, and they don't touch the firearm. They just run and scream and get an adult. So I would hope that they would model the same behavior at a friend's or a relative's or a neighbor's house. However, I never really have that guarantee. So I always, back up with making sure I know if they go over somebody else's house, if that person has firearms in the house, and that they're properly secured. And every single firearm owner that I have spoken with, that my children have gone over their house, they're more than willing to have these conversations with people to make them feel, more rest assured that their children are safe. So, and I've had my children's friends, their parents, call me and say, we know you have firearms in the house. Can you tell us how they're properly secured so that we know our children are safe? And I'm always more than willing to do so. My children have zero access to my firearms. They are not loaded within the house. They are not accessible within the house. They are kept behind safes, and they are kept unloaded. And I do everything to make sure that my children are safe in my house, and that their friends are too, because I know children are inquisitive. So some really very real statistics behind the chances of your child going to school and being part of a school shooting, or your child going to a relative or a friend's house or a neighbor's house and being accidentally shot there, are significantly different. So the statistics of houses, if your child was to go to a friend's house or a relative's house or a neighbor's house, 1 out of every 3 homes with children has a firearm in it. I don't know if all of you are aware of this, but there's a very high chance that one of the people two of the people, or even more of the people that you are related to, friends with, neighbors with, or your kids are friends with, that there are firearms in their home. And it came to my knowledge through some conversations on Facebook that a lot of parents aren't maybe aware of this, and maybe the unawareness stems to not caring, that they didn't even bother with it. They don't bother asking neighbors or friends or family if they have firearms in their house, but yet these are the very same parents who are standing up and being all against school shootings and calling for stricter gun laws and to combat school shootings. The chances of your child going to school on any given day and being part of a school shooting is 1 in like almost 3 million. You have a better chance of hitting Powerball or maybe Keno, where like you have to match all 12 numbers in Keno. I don't know, but the chances of being part of a school shooting are so small. And then you have the opposite, where many people are just freely ignoring where their kids are hanging out or who has firearms in their home, and allowing their children to happily and naively enter these homes, and not concerning yourself with educating your children on firearms, or talking to the homeowners about making sure their firearms are properly secured and making sure that your children will be safe. 1 out of every 3, like I said, 1 out of every 3 homes with children has guns, has at least one gun. 1/3 of unintentional shootings of children takes place in homes of friends, relatives, or neighbors. The chances of your child going over to a friend's or a relative's or a neighbor's home and being shot accidentally is significantly higher than them going to school and being shot in a school shooting. But yet, because of mainstream media, your focus is only on school shootings. So to me, I feel like a lot of people, or a lot of parents, are willfully ignorant on the topic, that they just rather focus on school shootings. And when you put it into relative perspective, that's not really you're not really protecting your children any, if you're just going to send them to the next door neighbor's house, and the next door neighbor has guns just lying around everywhere, to where they could easily pick one up and accidentally shoot themselves or shoot somebody else. These are very real consequences to being willfully naive on the subject, or willfully ignorant on the subject. So my point of the whole thing is, I feel like mainstream media has this agenda to push, to talk about how bad school shootings are, and school shootings are horrendous, don't get me wrong. But if you are actually concerned about your children and their well-being, I think you need to focus more on what is right around you and what is actually right around your children, because many children are exposed to guns consistently. So I urge you as parents to educate your children on firearm safety. There are instructors all around you can get in contact with who will sit your child down and go over the rules of firearm safety, and show your child the proper way to handle firearms and why these rules are so important. So that way, if your child ever does come in contact with a firearm, they're not just flailing it around and not understanding how to properly use it, because that, to me as a parent, is something that it hits home. I fear that my child or my children will have a firearm in their hands and not understand how to use it, and then that's something you cannot take back. So, fortunately, I educate my children on firearms. Like I said, some of them are little and can only be educated on it right now, or the rules of it, and some of them have had the opportunity to actually use firearms and fully understand how to operate them. But as a parent, I urge all of you to really educate your children on firearm safety, even though you may be against guns. You may honestly hate guns, but it is imperative for your children to respect guns, and for your children to know the rules of safety behind guns, so that nothing bad ever happens to them or somebody else. So I guess that's it for now. I'm sure I'll be signing back on in a couple days to tell you all about some new thing. But for now, that's it. If you have questions or comments, please let me know. I hope you like this video. I hope you pass it on to parents. I'm urging to get the word out to everybody. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.